Yes, folks, we're on BBBfm. You're listening to the Livewire Connections program here with Margaret, and it is 3:15, and I have Zoe on the line. Hello there, Zoe.
Hi, Margaret. How are you?
Yeah, good. Welcome to Livewire Connections, and thanks for being a part of the program today.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. Now, you're one of the directors, Zoe, if I got the pronunciation right here, Scharenguivel.
Very close, Margaret. It's actually Scharenguivel.
Scharenguivel. Okay, miles off. My apologies.
Scary. Okay.
Scharenguivel. Okay.
I get it all the time.
Well, welcome, Zoe. And you're one of the directors with Friends with Dignity. Can you tell us about that particular program? And I understand that Rosie Batty has been appointed an official ambassador.
Yes, that's correct, Margaret. So Friends with Dignity, we're a not-for-profit charity, and we assist families and individuals who have been affected by domestic and family violence, and we work nationally in collaboration with refuges and crisis centres. So we assist men, women and children basically to rebuild their lives with dignity, purpose and hope.
And we'll get back to a little bit more about what Friends with Dignity stands for and what Friends with Dignity does in terms of events and involved with a lot of fundraising. Can you tell us how Rosie Batty has become involved with Friends with Dignity?
Yes, absolutely. So we're absolutely thrilled that Rosie Batty has come on board with Friends with Dignity and come on board as our national ambassador, which just works in perfectly with us recently being announced as 2000 Australian Charity of the Year. So that's a huge coup on both fronts for the organisation, and one that we're both that we're very proud of. So Rosie's role with Friends with Dignity, working nationally with us, is just to help us to share the message of domestic and family violence prevention. She's still very passionate about assisting families displaced by domestic and family violence, and spreading the awareness of domestic and family violence prevention.
With Rosie Batty, most Australians would know what she went through with the loss of her son due to her ex-husband murdering her son.
Yes, a very, very tragic situation.
And Rosie, I think, has warmed people's hearts with the work that she does, considering what she has been through.
Yes, no, absolutely, Margaret. And with the recent the closure of the Luke Batty Foundation earlier this year, specifically to allow Rosie time to work on other projects that aren't as labour-intensive and high maintenance on her time, she's campaigned tirelessly since Luke's death, spreading the message and sharing the message of domestic and family violence prevention, and aligning with us has given her the opportunity to continue on with raising that awareness, but not having to work full-time all the time.
With the closure of the Luke Batty Foundation, is that about, I guess, the next stage of the work that she's doing as an advocate against domestic and family violence?
Rosie will always advocate against domestic and family violence, and just with the closure, it's my understanding that the foundation was launched not long after Luke's death, and she's campaigned tirelessly since then, and allowing the closure of the foundation gives Rosie more time, more personal time, more time to reflect on the past 3 years, and just to concentrate on a little bit more of self-care, which I'm sure you will agree is very, very important.
And it's interesting from my observation how much she's grown in the media spotlight with the work that she does. That she's really grown as a professional advocate.
Yes, no, that's correct. I'm sure that the last 3 years has been very much of a learning journey, as well for Rosie personally, and allowed her to grow in many ways that she never could have imagined, especially being thrust into the spotlight and becoming such a public, high-profile figure and such a high-profile and vocal advocate. She's definitely, experienced a lot of personal growth as well.
I remember that the media footage when she was being interviewed shortly after the murder of Luke, just a devastating media image, and having to deal with that. And most people wouldn't, I guess, gravitate to the kind of work that she's done in such a public way. Like, she's quite unique in that response, her response.
Yes, very much. And I'm sure that Rosie will be the first to admit that she was thrust into the spotlight under the most tragic circumstances. And she did her best every single day to raise the awareness of domestic violence and to ensure that Luke's death wasn't in vain. And she continually and tirelessly campaigned for a number of years to share that very valuable message, which, as you would be aware, Margaret, also led to her being announced as the 2015 Australian of the Year, which is a very, very high achievement.
What do you think attracted Rosie Batty to become an ambassador with Friends with Dignity?
Rosie really appreciates the organisation and our business model, our volunteer-based business model, where we take a very practical and tangible approach or grassroots approach to helping the families that we assist. With our sanctuary program, as an example, Margaret, which we operate nationally, we work in collaboration, as I mentioned, with crisis and support organisations where they'll, I'll give you an example, where a family may be in refuge for a period of time, and when they manage to secure their own private accommodation that might be a public housing unit or apartment, or through their own means and securing a rental property, their support worker will apply to us, and providing we have a team of volunteers in that area, then we'll collect the keys from that support worker, and then within 7 days, through reaching out and with the community stepping up and assisting us by donating their pre-loved items, we'll completely transform that new home for that family. And then when we're finished within a 7-day period, we'll hand the keys back to the support worker. And it's important to, I guess, highlight that our volunteers, we never meet any of the families that we assist. All of our programs, including our sanctuary programs, they're all gifted unconditionally, just allowing the family to move forward again, aligning back with our core value, allowing the families to move forward with purpose, dignity and hope.
That sounds like a terrific way of supporting people to resettle with belongings in stable accommodation that they can grow comfortable with and help stabilise families.
Yes, no, absolutely, that's correct, Margaret. So it's very important. What essentially we're saying to the families that we help, that we assist, is that we'll take care of the material items, the materialistic items, the fridge and the washing machine, and beds for your children, and towels and bedding, right down to your laundry powder. So you don't need to worry about any of those material items. You just concentrate on getting yourself better, practicing self-care, look after your family, allowing time then to concentrate on more critical items for them to move forward, which may include finding a job so that the parent can then support the family, or then continuing on with education, allowing the parent to then to secure employment to help their family. And I mention parent because we don't discriminate. We help men and women.
I'm just thinking... oh gosh, the line's not that good here at the minute. So I'm just thinking as you're talking how I don't know what's going on. Okay. This isn't sounding too good, is it?
I'm still here.
Okay, we'll see how we go. Are you with me now there, Zoe?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly. Thanks, Margaret. We did have a bit of static.
Yes. I'll just try another microphone here and see if that makes a difference. Yep, that might be better. Okay. Yes, I was just thinking, it reminds me of Maslow's, I don't know if you know psychology a little bit, but Maslow's hierarchy of need, where you've got to have your basic accommodation side of things worked out first, and then you can work on the higher order of life's challenges of jobs and health, education, those kinds of things. But accommodations...
very, very important. A safe and secure roof over your head is critical, absolutely.
Okay, can you tell us about the founder, Manuela Whitford? She was the founder of Friends with Dignity?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes, and how is she still with the organisation?
Yes, absolutely. So Julia McKenna, who's our CFO, she's a fellow director, a colleague of ours, and and myself, we work very closely with Manuela. Manuela is the CEO of the organisation, and the three of us are also directors. So essentially it's the three of us that run the organisation on a day-to-day basis.
How? Tell us a bit about your role, Zoe.
Okay, so I'm the Director of Friends with Dignity, and I also, one of my main roles, as we're 100% self-funded and we currently don't receive any government funding, one of my main roles is to secure incoming funds for the organisation and also to support the invaluable work that our volunteers do. So we organise major events, mainly around Domestic and Family Violence Prevention Month, again to raise the awareness of domestic and family violence prevention, but also at the same time bringing in critical funding for the organisation. So as an example, last May we held events in Newcastle, Brisbane, and we launched in Perth. And we also held an event on the Gold Coast where we were supported by over 620 guests, which was just fantastic. Our next major event is in celebration of us being announced as 2018 Australian Charity of the Year, and also having Rosie as our special invited guest, which is our Magical Christmas with Friends Gala event at the Southport Sharks Event Centre, which is actually being held on the Gold Coast, unfortunately.
Yes.
For your listeners, because we'd love for them to join us as well.
Yes, and that's a point I was interested to know. Is it state-specific, Friends with Dignity, or can people volunteer or be a part of the work that you do across Australia?
Yes, well, at the moment we're operating in southeast Queensland and also in Newcastle, the Hunter Valley and surrounding areas. We recently also, in May earlier this year, we launched our operations into Perth and into Western Australia. So if any of your listeners would like to actively step up and support our operations in any of those areas, then absolutely. It is part of our national expansion and rollout plan for 2019 and beyond to move into other states and capital territories. But the benefit of our organisation and our business model is that we can set up teams of volunteers in any area where there's a requirement. And again, it all gets down to having a team of volunteers. So any area where we have teams of volunteers, our systems and our processes are duplicatable, so we can easily start to operate in new areas.
I'm interested to hear that you support men in coming out of domestic violence situations or relationship breakdown. How does that actually work for men?
The exact same way that we assist women and their families, because you've highlighted, and it's so accurate, that domestic violence does not discriminate. It affects men as well. We recently actually completed a sanctuary in Queensland for a dad who had been living in his car with his 3 young daughters as a result of domestic and family violence. His children had been taken away from him temporarily until he secured permanent accommodation, and we're so happy to let you know that because of our volunteers stepping up, we're actually able to help that father to furnish his new home, and his girls return to him very, very quickly.
So the service supports both genders. What would the stats show? Men and women accessing support from Friends with Dignity. Is there a big difference there? Or
there appears to be more support services that are available to women as opposed to men, but we know that is changing.
Okay, so that's, it's great that a service is open, yes, to support people in need around domestic and family violence.
Yes, it's very, very important, as well as raising the awareness that domestic and family violence doesn't discriminate, and it does affect men as well. And we'll continue to advocate for that and the purpose of us helping and assisting men as well.
Can you tell us personally yourself, Zoe, how did you get involved? What motivated you to get involved with Friends with Dignity?
Well, I came from a corporate background, and then I started my family. So I was a stay-at-home mum for a few years, and then I was just watching on the news all the terrible tragedies that were unfolding regarding domestic and family violence. And then one of my best friends, someone she was very closely associated with who I knew of, but I didn't actually know her personally. She was actually killed by her partner with an axe, and she also happened to be 10 weeks pregnant. So what I witnessed firsthand was the impact, or the ripple effect as I call it. So it doesn't only affect that particular individual, it has such an impact on friends and family and co-workers and the community in general. So using my corporate connections, I decided to just organise a small fundraising lunch that just ended up getting bigger and bigger. And before you know it, I managed to raise the $6,000, which I then donated onto a domestic and family violence charity, which is where I met Manuela, and then together with Julia, we launched Friends with Dignity officially on the 1st of September 2015. So we've just recently celebrated the organisation's 3rd birthday as well.
It's fantastic work, and clearly having Rosie Batty on board as part of the work you do but bodes well for the future of what you do and support in the community.
Yes, no, absolutely. And as part of Rosie's role with us, Rosie will also be attending a number of our fundraising events throughout Australia over the next 12 months, which is a fantastic opportunity for members of the public to come to our events and to meet Rosie, possibly even have her book signed as well, because Rosie's very committed to assisting us and working alongside us to raise the awareness of domestic and family violence moving into the future, and this gives her as well a perfect opportunity and platform to do so.
About Rosie Batty and her writing, is this the first or second book? Is it a second book that?
I understand it's her first book, but it's gone into second edition. So it's gone into a major print, another print run, because her first edition actually sold out. And book I was just going to mention that her book's, the name is called A Mother's Story.
Yes, I have seen it on the bookshelves. I haven't actually purchased it yet. But, yes, it certainly is a reminder, isn't it? A tragic real-life story of situations in domestic family violence scenarios, yeah.
Absolutely, and it's very, very, very interesting to read her book, but also to understand the journey, not only of Rosie, but also of a number of women who have experienced similar, or been going through similar, I guess, circumstances, quite possibly obviously without the same ending. But there are a number of women who are subjected to domestic and family violence who have or are going through the exact same scenario.
And for a lot of women, and I guess a few men as well, that the escalation of behaviour, it's something that women aren't always aware of, how serious it can actually get.
Yes, no, that's correct, and that's where the education comes into it, educating the community, and also being conscious about our fellow family members and our neighbours, and just being attuned to, is everything okay, and just keeping an eye on our friends and family, and just look for those warning signs.
We could keep chatting for quite a bit longer, Zoe, but thanks so much for being a part of my program today. And you're from Friends with Dignity. Now, can you just say your surname again, Zoe?
Oh, yes, Zoe Scharenguivel from Friends with Dignity. And if you'd like further information on our organisation, or how you, as a member of the public and the general community, can step up, speak out and support, just jump to our website, www.friendswithdignity.org.au, or you can go straight to our Facebook page as well.
Okay. Look, thanks very much for your time, and have a good rest of the day.
Oh, thank you so much for your time, Margaret. Thank you.
Okay.
Have a lovely day.
Bye-bye. Okay.